What you're seeing now is the car completely untouched. The dealership specifically did not clean it at the customer's request. We love when that happens. That way nobody really had a chance to get their hands on it before we did. Every step of the way we can control it and make sure everything comes out perfect. We're gonna get it inside, get it prepped. I'll turn it over to Aaron, our lead PPF installer. He's gonna take you behind the scenes and show you what it takes to get a project like this complete.
We're gonna pull up DAP here. This is what all the patterns are on for pretty much every single new car. We're gonna be doing a full wrap, so we gotta pull up every single pattern on this car. A lot of times when we're pulling up these patterns, they may not be 100% correct. So we have to pull up the patterns and then take a walk over to the car, look at the bumper if that's what we're looking at. So that's what we're looking at right now. Make sure that it does have its tow hook, and then the reflector holes on either side. So that's the biggest thing that we're gonna look for. The bumper on the car should have these things, but it's got this marker light here, and then even on the pattern, you can see this bigger, there's gonna be a bigger cutout right on the other side of the marker light for this big arrow piece. And then if we come in on the inside here further, you'll also see the tow hook cover. Like I said, the GT3 RS isn't really gonna have any variation. So let's pull those up. Gonna look through our list here. So these fenders are pretty complex compared to, you know, more basic vehicles like the Cadillac that's sitting right beside this. The Cadillac doesn't have any of those big arrow scoops or the larger headlight sunken into the actual fender. You can see the big hole for the headlight, the fender as well. But what's weird is that because of how the fender is, it's actually cut off short, so it doesn't go the whole ways down the fender to the rockers. When we're looking at this, there's a lot of modifying that we're gonna have to do. It's not just a simple pick the pattern, click on it, and then plot it out onto the machine. We have to do extending and modifications so we can get the best coverage. We can make sure that this car is the best protected vehicle we can make it. And there's not really much I can do with cutouts here in the fenders, so what we may do is maybe shrink this hole a little bit. That way, when we're lining this up, we can get it to wrap this edge just a tiny bit without having to use a knife on the panel, because we definitely don't want to do that. We're trying to minimize that as much as possible. The edges, like inside the wheel well here, if you look at the inside, there's probably a good 1/4 of an inch of painted fender flare here that we're gonna want to cover. So we're gonna extend this edge here. If we open up the door, and we do this on every single vehicle, and we don't just do this because it's a GT3 RS. We're gonna look in the back of the fender. If there's enough room here, we're gonna wrap into the back. That way we don't have an edge right on the back of the fender. Same thing at the top of the fender. We have a little bit of meat here as well. We'll wrap up here, and then the whole ways on the inside along the front. If we wanted to, we could wrap this a lot and tuck it under here. Most of the times we'll just wrap it, say, 1/4 of an inch. That way we're not having that top line along the top of the fender. Most of the time on normal vehicles, you don't have this much of a rounded painted edge, so we can't really do what we're gonna do on this. But in this case, since we do have enough meat here, we are going to wrap this a little bit further. We may have to use our blade a little bit just to make sure it's not wrapping too far, and then it'll pull over time. But now that you guys understand some of the process that it takes to get these patterns the way that they are, to get the coverage the way that it is, I'll be doing the installing, and you can see how these patterns actually look when it's going down and after it's finished.
Aaron is doing the final inspection. We always like to do an inspection outside in the natural light, and this overcast kind of lighting is absolutely perfect. Sometimes the sun can kind of blind you. When the sun's gone, we get to see everything we want to see. So we wrapped every inch of the painted surfaces of this. You guys saw Aaron painstakingly modify every single piece on this thing to make sure edges wrap where they should, and we get as full, complete coverage as possible with very little trimming on the car. So that's always the goal with our patterns. We want to get it really, really, really tight and accurate. with as little knife on paint action as possible. So obviously in the hands of a skilled installer, the knife on the paint is no issue. That's what Aaron's doing now, trimming up some edges, heating up some edges, popping some little bubbles, things like that. So thank you guys for watching. We hope that you enjoyed seeing some of the insider info with how we do a paint protection film wrap on a car like a GT3 RS.